We are live. We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and your friends. I've got one of the O-rings. I've got it on a different color. I might look a little yellow to you today. I got one correct, one incorrect, whatever. We'll continue on. Welcome in, everybody. If you want to donate to this College Football Rebel Outpost channel, hit the $sign when you make a comment, and I'll get you a super chat as soon as I possibly can. Everybody, welcome in. Welcome in to the studio that sits on the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. Disinformation meeting number 2. Everybody, please get seated. We are going to talk about today Matt Baker, the great Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times, the ACC, had a very bad day in Leon County. The rush to judgment, very good news for Florida State. This is very good news for Florida State. I don't know what the end result of this is all going to be. I've got no clue. I think, from my standpoint, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. I mean, the pressures of finding a settlement, it has to be growing, I think, for the ACC. To find a number to settle. I know there can be appeals. Mecklenburg's probably going to go one way. Leon County's probably going to go the other way. Maybe. I'm just guessing here, guys. I'm not a lawyer. Definitely not a judge. I might be the executioner. But, this is probably going to get all appealed up to the Supreme Court in May. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a long time. Are the negotiations going on right now for a settlement? I don't know. I do not know. No idea. If it happens here in the next month, it's going to be quite the story. And the implications, the ramifications on what happens next is going to be groundbreaking. The Holy Smokes Theater is going to run out of popcorn. So we'll see. It may take, I don't know. And we got the decision for the ESPN and whether to extend their content, distribution content for the ACC. And there's so much brewing. There's the July 2nd and the July 12th meetings that we're going to cover here at Peek Around the Corner in the courthouse if there's a live stream. Anyways, we're going to get to that Matt Baker. We're just going to spend a little bit of time on it. We will continue here at Peek Around the Corner. We will continue to show you the live stream inside the courtrooms when there is the opportunity to do so in Leon County, Pickens County, Mecklenburg County. I don't know if we're going to get the live streams in Pickens County, but we're going to set it up like we are going to get it. So that morning, July 2, the morning of July 2nd, July 12th, whatever, we're going to be acting. We're going to be acting in accordance to the belief that we're going to be able to show you the live stream and we can comment all together about it. The last live stream we had went 6 hours. 6 hours and 17 minutes in Leon County, Judge Cooper. But when it comes to the pleadings and back and forth and the filings, and we're only going to spend a little bit of time on it unless it's something really, really, really big. Today was big. Today was big, no question about it. But again, we're going to we're not going to go into the court records and go through it all and like we've done in the past. That's what we're going to cover first. The second thing we're going to cover, we're going to be talking Memphis. There was some discussion, an article. Memphis athletic director keeping his head on a swivel for the next realignment. Talking Big 12 or ACC, one or the other. They're going to get themselves ready. Remember, Memphis has got a FedEx NIL deal. Memphis is redoing some of their football stadium. They're going to have a really good football team this year. They're going to be one of the top 3 G5 schools consensus on getting into the playoffs this year. A lot of good things are happening with Memphis. So we're going to cover just a small article on that. I'm hoping to get your comments in phone calls on that. And we're going to talk about Paul Finebaum. Paul Finebaum. We're going to be talking about him, his comments in regards to he doesn't know if the Florida State is fits the Big Ten model. They might not get an invite due to the academics. First of all, in many ways, I disagree with Paul Finebaum on what he said. And I'm going to go into it when we get through the first two stories. We're going to get to it in depth. I disagree with Paul Finebaum. And I'm going to tell you why I disagree with him. But then I'm going to tell you why I think he's saying what he's saying. And it's not, and again, probably everybody's going to disagree with me. And that's fine. We can do this on the show, but I'm going to explain myself in the best way I can do it. It's not a disinformation campaign. It's Paul Finebaum is speaking in code about something. So we're going to get into it. The words he used, I would disagree. But there is something else. We've talked about it on this live show ever since May 28th, which is, today is June 28th. So it's 1 month since we had Peek Around the Corner, had to rip down the odds. We don't believe anybody is the chalk to go anywhere right now. We have reasons to believe this, and we haven't been able to tell you everything. But we have reasons to believe that we should not have any chalk. Should not be Florida State, Clemson to go to the Big Ten. It might happen, but no way, no how can we put it up on the board and say, and so we can't even go that far. While there are other people claiming every single day that it's a done deal. In fact, I'm going to show you one example of a certain person declaring that it's been done, and it's been done for over a year, and this gentleman is trolling thousands of Seminole fans. I'm going to show you that example because I respect the Florida State Seminole fan base way too much. Way too much. So yes, I'm going to do that one more time. So I disagree with Paul Finebaum. But I think he's doing a little bit of a cloak job. Cloak and dagger. I believe he wants to say something else. We're going to get into it. Again, my speculation on what Paul Finebaum's comment was of today. A lot of it is speculation. A little bit of it today is we know the chatter behind the curtain. And I haven't been able to get to all of it. Someday I will. On May 28th, we had to rip down the odds on Florida State's Clemson going to the Big Ten. There's no chalk here at Peek Around the Corner. No favorites. There's too much unknown. And the Big Ten wants everything to be paused, and the Big Ten wants to be able to evaluate everything in front of them once the ACC implodes. Not only is there not an offer for any schools, which is impossible, there's been no first-party talks with any ACC schools, which is not possible. There's going to have to be a sit-down and serious talks with all these schools in the ACC when they can get out of the conference, because that is the process. I got a hunch about Paul Finebaum, and we'll get to that, and we're going to get to that in the back end of our monologue. I got to thank everybody who has come on in. Ricky is, holy smokes, Ricky with this gifted 5 memberships to the PATC community. Holy smokes. Ricky, you yourself, the Almighty Finn is back in the house. Almighty Finn, you are now a member. Rob Ellen is a member. Stephen Clark, Daniel Gorby, Zach Mock. Please, when you get a chance, you 5, please say thank you to Ricky when you get an opportunity. Ricky, Almighty Finn, Rob Ellen, Stephen Clark, Daniel Gorby, and Zach Mock, you are all officially hereby granted cloak and dagger. And we're going to be talking about a little bit of cloaking language later on in the monologue. Thank you, Ricky. Thank you for your continued generosity to the show, helping us keep the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. Let me say thank you here. Let me do a quick roll call. A lot of people have come on in at the beginning of our Friday show. Friday, the end of the week. LFG is in the house. Mr. Seminole Morris Simmons is here. Conference Room 8 is open. Absolutely. Brother Mazoon is here. LFG. Vox Quindaro. It's a great day to be a Jayhawk. Keep Jalen Daniels upright. Keep him upright, Vox. You got a depth. You got a bunch of good receivers. Devin Neal is spectacular. Keep your quarterback upright, and who knows, Vox, David M. is in the house. Great. Just believe in third, fourth, and even fifth party talks. The Almighty Finn is your general. Finebaum has 0 sources and confidence stuff. He also said the Big Ten won't take Oregon or Washington. I don't remember what he said about it. I'll take your word for it, Jen. I don't follow Finebaum. I'm just a fat guy from Minnesota. But I do know, well, again, I don't agree with what Paul Finebaum is saying, but I want to add a little bit more to it, just a little bit more to the story, because, well, I'm just going to add a little bit more to the story, and people can take it how they want it. Don in Kansas is here. Keep a Choppin' is here. Congo is here. Kerry Gold Nose. Bo Evil. Nick Kelso. Tracy FSU. Jen Fari is in the house. Daniel Gorby is here. Nick Kelso is here. Bill G. Finebaum is nothing but an ESPN mouthpiece. And I don't blame Florida State fans for believing it, thinking it, and knowing that it's true. We all up here in the North, we know that. And again, I'm going to go through the reasons why I disagree with Finebaum, but then I'm going to go through a little bit of why I think he said it. We will get to it. Paul Clifton is in the house. Jay Chapman is here. Stephen Clark, Daniel Garby, Rob Ellen, Zach Mock, Clay Try is here. Georgia Bulldogs. Finebaum is a fine SEC homer. Tony McNerney is in the house. Cornelius Green, Mr. Monkey says, Jamie Thornton. It's odd since the SEC has no interest in Florida State anyway. I wonder. I wonder, ooh. I wonder. Patricia Crawford is in the house. Gene Watson, Greg, I do believe Josh Pate is right about something happening. After snooping around the campus, the quote, we don't have to be in the league to fight the lawsuits. Posturing, maybe. Don't have to be in the league to fight the lawsuits. Okay. My next question is, what is the advantage of not being in the league when you fight the lawsuits? Because I can't come up with one. And nobody has expressed that to me. Maybe there is an advantage and I just haven't found it yet. Does it quicken the pace in the courts? Does it? I don't know. Does it really put pressure on the ACC? I don't know. Does it put pressure on ESPN? Is there this two-team composition clause? I don't know. I haven't seen the media rights agreement. I know what was expressed, what was in there in 2011, but I don't know. This is 2024. There was a Gore in 2013, an extended Gore in 2016. There were considerations back and forth. I don't know. I hopefully, if there's not hopefully there's a settlement here. Hopefully there's a settlement. And then Clemson and Florida State can go to the open market and have real discussions and create a bidding war. Create a paranoia among the two power conferences. I don't know. Who follows Finebaum? Expedition Greg, Florida State is destined to go to the Big Ten. You could be right. Could be right. There is no bidding war for Florida State. It's Big Ten bound. Okay, let's get into it. So the sooner we can get into the start of our monologue, the sooner we can get to the back end of our monologue. Let's get to it. Thank you, everybody, for coming in here in the studio, spending some time with the fat guy from Minnesota. Again, not going to spend too much time on this, but this is really good news. Florida State, they made a first down in the rush to the end zone, a rush to judgment. Matt Baker, the great Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times, Florida's First District Court of Appeals has rejected the ACC's attempt to pause Florida State-Leon County lawsuit against the conference. Fantastic news for Seminole Nation. Fantastic news for Clemson. Fantastic news for schools. Fantastic news. The appellate court's Friday's ruling did not weigh in on the conference's larger issue that a Tallahassee Judge Cooper committed a judicial foul in allowing Florida State's lawsuit to proceed. That appeal, a 61-page petition for writ, remains pending and awaits Florida State's response. So, basically, in a nutshell, another hurdle to get this thing through the Leon County court system faster than what's going on in Mecklenburg County. This is a good day for Florida State. ACC's attempt to pause Florida State's Leon County lawsuit against the conference was rejected, denied. So again, just a little bit of an update on what's going on in Leon County. Again, July looks to be a big month in Pickens County. And we're going to be covering it here at Peek Around the Corner. And we're going to continue to cover the drama in Leon County, Mecklenburg County, in everything. Let me quickly get to the Memphis. What new Memphis athletic director Ed Scott said about conference realignment and revenue sharing. Today, this afternoon, Jonah Dillon, Memphis commercial appeal. We have covered his articles before when talking about Memphis, when talking about their rebuilding their stadium, when talking about the FedEx NIL deal. Does a great job. Commercial appeal. New Memphis athletic director Ed Scott knows he's got a long to-do list once he officially starts his new role. But there's one thing at the top of that list. First, get some sleep tonight, he deadpanned. When asked about his list of priorities after a 48-hour whirlwind period in which he officially became Memphis' new athletic director on Wednesday and then formally was introduced today on Friday. Scott comes to Memphis from Virginia, where he was deputy athletic director. He also has previous athletic director experience, having spent 5 years as AD at Morgan State. Now he's at the helm of the Tigers athletic department during a critical time when Memphis is trying to position itself in conference realignment talks and figures out its place in the broader college sports landscape. More specifically, Scott needs to hire a new softball coach and raise about $27 million for Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium renovations. The new AD was asked about some of the more pressing issues facing his department. Here's a rundown of what he said. Conference realignment. Scott made it clear that Memphis would be ready if an invitation comes to go to another conference. He spoke broadly about Memphis' place in the conference realignment picture. And he said he would love to compete against his former colleagues in the ACC. There's really two options that everybody knows about. The Big 12 and the ACC, he said. I think the Big 12 is pretty firm with their membership right now. I'm coming from the ACC. There's some lawsuits pending the last time I heard, so I don't know what's going to happen there. My goodness. But I can tell you my job is to position us to be ready if something were to happen, the ACC implosion, if one of those two conferences. I think we fit well in both. Scott said he believes Memphis would be competitive in both conferences with football and men's basketball, but noted that the ACC might be the best conference for Olympic sports now that the Pac-12 is no longer. Memphis won one ACC championship in 23-24 across all its sports. Women's soccer, which was one of the best teams in the country all season, and is currently the most successful program in the Tigers athletic department. Scott, the AD, we've got to pick it up. We've got to pick it up on the Olympic side if we want to go there, he said. If he wants Memphis to be on the inside track, to get an invitation to the ACC once it implodes, we got to get that Olympic side. We got to pick it up because that's one of the things that the ACC looks at. They want their universities to have a bandwidth, Olympic sports, right? North Carolina. Look at all the varsity sports they sponsor. Look at Boston College. They're probably going to have to cut some here. So Memphis knows that this is something they've got to do. And then they talk about the House versus NCAA lawsuit. I just wanted to bring that up. Interesting article. I'm going to provide a link in the description box here after our show is completed. Big 12 or the ACC. Now, once the ACC implodes, if the SEC and if the Big 10 decides to eat, then you're going to be looking at the Big 12, right? The Big 12 looking to possibly expand their conference, in the ACC looking to backfill. As of today, I would have to say Memphis should look more strongly at the possibility of joining the ACC. They're a good fit in the Big 12 in a couple different ways. Geographically, absolutely. But I think they're going to have a better chance at backfilling in the ACC once the ACC implodes. That's my take on it. I want to hear your take on it. We're going to be following closely like we've been doing once in a while. We do Memphis talking segments here. We know we have them in the Holy Smokes Theater for Pac-2 and Friends. They're sitting there with Tulane and UTSA. They're back in the 15th row. They have a little bit of an interest, probably. That Frankenstein conference that Washington State and Oregon State are looking to build. They're not one of the schools that are on the stage because Memphis and Tulane and possibly UTSA are looking at greener pastures, right? ACC, Big 12, once the ACC implodes. It's going to be a lot of that realignment wave. There's going to be a lot of ripple effects. So anyways, Memphis, they're going to be one of the schools we're going to be talking about more and more and more and more. And by the way, we're going to be talking about Memphis football this year. I've got them as the third top G5 school in the country. As of right now, when we do our G5 predictions in July, who knows? Maybe I'll have Memphis number one. They've got the quarterback to do it. So we'll see. Anyways, that's Memphis. We're going to talk about it. You can give me a call later on in the show or your comments, and we'll talk more Memphis. Now, Paul Finebaum. And by the way, next Monday, we're going to be doing our order to finish prediction for the Big 10. We've done the Big 12. We've done the ACC. I'm sorry. Next Monday, we're going to be doing the SEC order to finish prediction. The Southeastern Conference. We've done the Big 12. We've done the ACC. We've done the Big 10. We've broken down every team. Deep analysis. We spend time in each team. I give you my order to finish, and then you guys crush me like a grape, and then we move on. But I'm warning you, it's not going to be Greg the Cooler this year. It's going to be Greg the Heater. Cheeseburger in paradise. Holy smokes. Holy smokes. College Football Mafia shouting out to the little general. Thank you, College Football Mafia, for coming on in. There's not a lot of Finebaum fans in the chat, and I can understand that. Let's take a look. Let's talk about it. Again, a whole lot of speculation on my part. Sprinkled in with some other stuff. It was reported Paul Finebaum is uncertain. This was on the Paul Finebaum show. Paul Finebaum is uncertain if Florida State would be invited into the Big Ten due to academics. They don't fit the Big Ten model. The Big Ten, I believe, other than Nebraska, has highly accredited schools, and I don't think Florida State really qualifies for that. I know Florida State thinks they're heavily in demand, but there are some questions about what exactly they bring to the Big Ten. Those are Paul Finebaum's words on Florida State in the Big Ten. First of all, when it comes to highly accredited schools, I'm going to be blunt, and I'm not taking a shot at, well, I am, but I'm not doing this in a, I don't know how to put it. I'm not doing it in a vicious way. I'm just, again, on this show, I gotta shoot it to you straight. Florida State, when it comes to their research, when it comes to their growth in research and development expenditures, when it comes to their access rate, bringing in schools, they've got very high standards at Florida State. I think it would surprise a whole lot of people. I'm not going to put up these charts. Okay, I'm going to be nice. I don't need a chart. Florida State is highly accredited school. Florida State is a research university. Go check the growth from 2014 to 2022, which is the last numbers we get on it. I've done a whole show on it. Their growth has been great, outstanding, and they've done it as a non-Big Ten university. More importantly, they've done it as a non-AAU university. And there's more I want to get to here. And then I'll get to this other part that I want to add to it. But Florida State does not need to be AAU to get an invitation to the Big Ten. I've just told you the truth, and I've battled this for years. The AAU is a private organization. They do not have the veto pen on who the Big Ten invites to the conference. The Big Ten has invited non-AAU schools to the conference. They just have. I don't know what else to say. I can't say any more on this. Michigan State. Michigan State was not AAU, and they were not AAU for 8 years after they joined the Big Ten. The University of Minnesota, you think University of Minnesota is big now? Of course they were smaller in the 50s, but compared to other schools, the gap was enormous. University of Minnesota, compared to these other schools in 1950, 51, 52, was a giant among ants, and Minnesota still sponsored Michigan State. People don't understand this. And I don't blame a lot of people, because a lot of people who go to this show are not Big Ten. This is a national show. I'm just telling you. Very, 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 very small non-AAU schools have been invited to the Big Ten. Ohio State was not AAU when they were invited in. The Big Ten looked at inviting a bunch of non-AAU schools, in 2000, I don't remember the year, 2010, 2011, 2012. It came out in the Omaha Herald. They were going to possibly, they were looking into bringing in Iowa State at the time, AAU, Texas A&M at the time, AAU, but then they were going to bring in Oklahoma, non-AAU, and other non-AAU schools in one big swath expansion of 6 schools, but it did not work economically. But the Big Ten looked into it. If Texas and Oklahoma had called the Big Ten and not Greg Sankey, Oklahoma would be a Big Ten school. They're not AAU. You don't have to be AAU. What you gotta be. What you gotta be is a thriving, viable, growing research university to have a chance to get an invitation to the Big Ten. Florida State is that. And no, you guys know me by now. I'm not pumping sunshine into the Florida State Seminole fans. I don't do that. I've given it to you straight. But what I just said is true. I don't agree with Paul Finebaum on this. And I don't really think he knows. Again, I'm not being mean. I'm just saying this AAU thing is so concrete in people's minds. They don't understand. There's more depth to it than that, than a private club. It's just more depth to it. Now, there's a couple things, and then I'll get to my big thing that I really want to add to the story, is there is some consternation about Nebraska. And that, I think, maybe, I don't know if that's hurting Florida State and other schools. But I think Paul Finebaum and other people believe it could be hurting Florida State. What I mean by that is there's been reports out of Lincoln, Nebraska. We have covered it. We've done about 3 or 4 shows on it where Lincoln, Nebraska writers have written saying that Nebraska is worried about their future. They've got to increase their research expenditures. They have not kept up. I'll give an example, and I've given a lot of examples. In 2013, Florida State was well behind Nebraska in research dollars. Now they're well ahead. They're over $100 million ahead. Nebraska has flatlined. They've only gone from 260 million research expenditure university to 320 in the last 8 years. Florida State was behind them. Now they're ahead of them. There is a lot of examples of that. So Nebraska, they believe I don't think Nebraska is going to get kicked out of the Big Ten, but there is this constant expression from the interim president, from their past president, President Carter, who went to Ohio State. There is this constant consternation at Nebraska saying that we need to get this thing going. So I think maybe that's, I don't know. I don't think necessarily that's having an impact on this. I just think it's having I don't think it's having a true impact on this. On this story of where Florida State, Clemson, and everything, where everybody's going to end up after the implosion. But I think it's having an effect on people like Paul Finebaum. Because they've all heard this Nebraska story. So that's one point. That's one point I want to get to. Here's the other part. Paul Finebaum says, I know Florida State thinks they're heavily in demand. Well, Florida State, and we have reported this, third-party talks and information and valuation, Florida State knows they are a value-add brand. They are a very valuable brand. I think they have enough information to be confident. For them to be confident. The next Paul Finebaum sentence is the one I want to get to. But there are some questions about what exactly they bring to the Big Ten. Now, that should be easily answered. We all can do it. The Big Ten wants to go into the Southeast. We know this. I've been reporting this to you forever. When I said that Oregon and Washington State were going to be, they were going to be invited to the Big Ten before they went to the Southeast, but it happened, and now the target is the East Coast, the Southeast. It would bring a different demographics to the conference. It would bring a whole lot of incredible student athletes into the conference. It would bring a whole lot of money into the conference. It would bring a huge fan base who spends money on Seminoles into the conference. It would bring a whole lot of Big Ten Network subscriptions into the conference, different sponsorships into the conference, a competitive athletic department into the conference. Florida State has, they are so resilient even after a decade of being down. They're back up. They're going to do it again. Decade after decade after decade after decade after decade, even though they have some handcuffs on them put on by the association of being in the ACC. We all know what Florida State can bring to the Big Ten. But I don't think that's what he means. Like I think he's talking in code. I'm gonna read what he said one more time, and then I'm just gonna go with it here and tell you what I think. I don't know. I'm just telling you what I think. Paul Finebaum, I'm just gonna read this one more time. I know Florida State thinks they're heavily in demand because, ladies and gentlemen, the chatter behind the curtain is Florida State got some really good valuation information. Clemson, they have reasons to feel North Carolina. So Paul Finebaum is saying, I know Florida State thinks they're heavily in demand because I believe, speculation on my part, I believe Paul Finebaum have heard the same thing that I've reported to you all. But there are some questions about what exactly they bring to the Big Ten. Ladies and gentlemen, you know on May 28th, I had to rip down the odds. There is no chalk that Florida State's going to the Big Ten. There is no chalk. It doesn't mean that Florida State's not going to end up in the Big Ten, but there is a lot of work to do. There is. Now, there is a consensus. So, okay, we're just talking here. Okay, we're just talking. These reporters, I know a lot of you don't like Finebaum, a lot of you don't like, I can name off all the names of the reporters, and when I do that, usually it gets into conspiracy. They're against us. Heck, I'm always being accused of being in a conspiracy. Now I'm being accused of being misinformation. Before I was part of the Endeavor plot. Even though we're correct about these stories, I'm always considered part of these, and now I'm being considered part of another conspiracy. And I'm not. Of course I'm not. These reporters, there is a certain consensus that gets built. There is a certain chatter that gets created. They talk to each other. They trade bones with each other. I'm not saying they all have the same sources. They don't, obviously. But they're always checking in on one another. They're always... And sometimes that leads to a herd mentality. And sometimes that herd mentality ends up to be absolutely 100% correct. In fact, oftentimes that's just the case. Sometimes it leads everybody over a cliff. They all just follow each other over a cliff. I've seen it happen both ways. I'm going to get to Paul Finebaum in his, whatever he said here specifically in a moment. But the the Pac-12 not having a deal set before them, really bad shape. A lot of reporters were negative for months. We were negative for months. We declared February that the Big 12, the chalk, we put that up on the board because the chatter was the Big 12 was going to be able to poach the Pac-12. We knew Colorado was the tip of the spear. You all know the story. But the chatter behind the curtain, and we told you this at the time, was even more negative than the reporting. The reporters were actually being held, they were actually holding back on the negativity. Even though they were being accused of being just negative because of an Endeavor plot, it was actually the opposite. Sometimes they have this herd mentality and they completely miss the story. The USC going to the Big Ten, where I try to push. I gave people information. I did, but there was only a couple of media companies that actually took it in. They believed it. They were trying to tell their people. USC 247 did an incredible job, but everybody else missed it. So I'm going to tell you what I think. There is this chatter that the Big Ten wants to slow it down. Information it's there. Whether again, you can say, Greg, that information is wrong. That's all I can tell you what the info is in a general way at this point. There is a thought that the Big Ten is just going to evaluate everything. If ACC implodes, they're not even going to rush. They're going to rush in to get the meetings and all this, but there's a lot to work on when you haven't had first-party talks with these institutions. There is a sort of let's wait and see. That is what is going on. That's why I took the odds off the board. And I think some of this, they're all talking with each other, and I think it spilled out in Paul Finebaum's words. Well, don't know if they're a fit to the Big Ten. Don't know, what did he say? There are some questions about what exactly with the Big Ten. There are questions about what exactly they would bring to the Big Ten. Well, there are going to be questions. When the ACC implodes and Florida State and the Big Ten are looking at each other across the table, the Big Ten's going to talk to Florida State exactly the same way they talk to Washington and Oregon, in Rutgers and Maryland and Nebraska. And they're going to say, you're going to need to do this, this, and this. Are you committed to doing this, this, and this? They did it to Washington. They did it to Oregon. They did it to Rutgers. They did it. They're giving these schools loans because they're committed. Washington had to build a million dollar multimedia center. Oregon's got to hire a whole bunch of new faculty. Oregon's got to do a lot. Nebraska had to do some stuff, and they've not been quite getting it done. So this is being said. This is the chatter behind the curtain. So, Paul, again, that is the chatter behind the curtain. That the Big Ten, they'd rather just see what happens this year with their schedule, their TV ratings, this 18-team pile-up. Is there going to be tiebreakers? Do they need to go in divisions? Do they need to think about geography? Do they need to think about a streaming partner with Amazon? If they do that, then whoever they expand with, the Amazon relation, there's a million things, and there's a million variables to this. And then there's the Notre Dame variable, and then there's the North Carolina variable. There's all these unknowns. We know that Florida State is an incredible brand. We know they bring money in. Their people are passionate, and they are a huge fan base. But there's all these unknowns. And I think some of that is getting triculated, if I can use that word. And I think Paul Finebaum, he's hearing this because that's the chatter. It's the chatter. The Big Ten wants to take a timeout, evaluate. That's the chatter. One of the reasons. I can't go into all the reasons. I can't. But one of the reasons we ought to rip the odds down on chalks and everything. It's why Finebaum is saying, I believe they don't fit the Big Ten model. I believe other than Nebraska, because he's hearing this Nebraska consternation. There are questions about what exactly is bringing the Big Ten, because there needs to be an evaluation. And there hasn't been. Florida State has been vetted, but they haven't been vetted and cleared. And none of the other ACC schools have done as well, only Notre Dame. They're even in the Big Ten contract. I think that's what Paul Finebaum is saying. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in between this. We are in between what Paul Finebaum has just said. What he just said. We're in between. Paul Finebaum is uncertain Florida State would be invited to the Big Ten due to academics. They don't fit, I know Florida State thinks they're heavily in demand. And then we've got this guy. And again, I'm bringing it up because I like the Florida State Seminole fan base way too much. You can hate me now, but you're going to respect me later, Seminole fans. Here is the clown saying, he got asked a question. This is May 16th. Nearly everything you said here is false outside of the Florida part. Florida State has had a spot in the Big Ten for more than a year now. And I'm not going to waste my time saying how and why when I've explained it 1,000 times already. And he has said it 1,000 times over the last year. Even in 2023, Florida State has a spot in the Big Ten. Florida State has an offer. It's in their hands. We're nowhere close to that, and we're nowhere close to Paul Finebaum saying that Florida State is not highly accredited enough. That's false. But that's last thing that I said from the clown is also false. Everybody is looking for certainty right now, and I completely understand it. But it ain't there. It ain't going to be there until Florida State gets its freedom. And they're doing everything possible. Today was a great day for Florida State and Leon County. But you can speculate and say Florida State is going to be a Big Ten member. You can say Florida State's going to be an SEC member. That's fine. That's great. All the logical reasons, great. But you cannot gobble up thousands and thousands of Seminole fans and tell them they've already got a spot. It's already done, signed, sealed, and delivered. And these are the reasons why. And then change your reasons every other month. It's not how it works. So I think Paul Finebaum is hearing things, and I think he put it out in a way that I believe doesn't match the truth. But the heavy chatter is the Big Ten would rather just wait another year. They'd rather just see how this season goes for them. They don't control it. And if there is an implosion, they're going to evaluate everything. They're going to make sure who's available, who becomes available, who wants to become available. They're going to evaluate it. And then we'll get into the stories of who is the chalk, who is not, what are the talks. I'll give you the cloak and dagger. I'll do the best I can to give you the cloak, to unveil the cloaking. But there's been a lot of things being said out there that it's already this, it's already that, it's the this, it's the that. It's about the college football playoffs. Fox is already told, or Fox did not bid for college football playoff content because ESPN is going to give them Florida State, and none of that is true. None of that is true. And Florida State fans, you are too valuable, too strong, too impactful in college football, too successful to not be told the truth by at least somebody. So that's what I'm doing. So you can hate me now, but hopefully you remember this so you can at least respect me a little bit later down the road. But that's what I think Paul Finebaum, that's why I think he said what he said. They don't fit the model, blah, blah, blah. I think, they do, first of all. But it's going to be up to the Big Ten presidents. It's going to be up to Fox. Fox has not given approval to any schools. They don't do that. They give valuations. Fox will give valuations to these presidents, to the commissioner, and then evaluate. And then Fox will say, yeah, I would like that. I would like that. That's good. That's good. But approval is a whole different, none of that has happened yet. So anyways, we're going to get to your phone calls. We're going to get to your chats. And we're going to get to everything. Let me open up the phone lines. You can tell me how wrong I am. 763-260-1333 is the number. 763-260-1333. Again, the chatter, the heavy chatter. It's not all the information, but it's all that I can give you. The Big Ten made no deals. They want to slow this thing down.
Call from
Tristan Fibes.
Tristan is on the line. The floor is yours. How you doing, sir?
I'm fine. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I don't know if you ask my wife, she'll probably give you a different answer, but I think I'm doing all right.
Well, I don't want to get that personal, so I'll just leave it there. Hey, so listen, I got to say this, okay? Paul Finebaum doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
If he's making statements about FSU, how in the world does he have any insight into what the presidents of the Big Ten are thinking? Or how does he have any insight into what Fox is thinking? He doesn't know anything. And, he may be hearing chatter, but if he's not hearing chatter from the decision makers on that side of the world, then he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I think he should be ignored. Did he predict Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC prior to that announcement?
I don't follow Paul. I don't know what I don't follow him. I don't know what he's said, what he hasn't said.
Okay, well, he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't. It's not his job to talk about realignment until after it happens.
Yeah.
And it's, I just think he just needs to be completely ignored. Now, listen, Greg, as far as FSU goes, I'm still of the opinion that Florida State will probably end up in the Big Ten. The reason I'm saying that is that if you've kept up, and I know you probably don't read it and you rely on JD, but if you'd been keeping up with what Regal Knoll has been saying, he's been warning now for weeks that we're entering into a period of misinformation. Everyone's trying to throw everyone else off, and like if you're hearing things that contradict what you had been told previously, there's a good chance that it's misinformation.
I don't know how to answer that.
Well, it's not a question. You don't have to give an answer.
Well,
I'm just making the statement.
I know it's not a question, but I'm going to make a comment on that. But I'll wait till after the phone call.
Okay. So, and from my perspective, I mean, look, Greg, the P2, they're competing with each other. And there's a clear delineation in football ability, and there's a clear delineation in academic prowess. And I would say that as of right now, AAU status is more of a requirement in the SEC than it is in the Big Ten. They're desperately trying to get their academics up to something close to what the Big Ten has. And the other side of that same coin is that the Big Ten is desperately trying to get their football product up close to the level that the SEC currently has it at. Mm-hmm. And look, they're just competing with each other. And I think all of this chatter that FSU somehow doesn't fit into the Big Ten, or, if they don't have a place or whatever, I'm not buying it. They might end up in the SEC, and if that happens, there'll be some specific reason why. But, Greg, the reason is not going to be that the Big Ten wouldn't have them. Okay? The Big Ten would gladly take FSU if the stars aligned and everything worked out so that FSU could go there. They would love to have them, and I don't have any doubt at all that FSU would accept and be happy in the conference. So take that for what it's worth. AAU status is more of a requirement in the SEC right now because they're trying to catch up to the Big Ten in that area.
Yeah. Great call, Tristan. I'm going to make a comment about the misinformation thing, but I do appreciate the call. Thank you.
All right, thanks. You take care, Greg. Keep up the good work.
You got it. Thank you very much.
All right, bye-bye.
I don't have this set up. I'm absolutely incompetent. Thank you. So I'm taking a timeout. I took the phone off the hook. Because Tristan brought up Regal Knowles and this supposed information that there's going to be disinformation spread about the land. And Tristan was giving me a heads up. Oh, I've gotten the heads up. I appreciate Tristan letting me know. But this is why I did the show yesterday. I've been inundated. I've been absolutely swarmed. And this has happened to me before. This happened on an incredible... boy. I'm going to try to be kind here. I'm going to try to be kind. I don't know. Maybe... No, I better be clear on this. There is no disinformation campaign out there. People are not coordinating. And I know, oh, Greg, don't draw the line. I'm going to draw the line. This is the same thing that happened during the Big 12, Pac-12. This time, that time when we're talking about how dire straits the Pac-12 and the Big 12, the favorite to poach. At the Pac-12, we had the Arizona State Money Perch telling us that the Pac-12 wasn't even getting a deal set before the presidents. When other people were reporting they were, but we knew they weren't because we know who our guy is. We gave that information to some other reporters, and it turned out to be true. And I got raked over the coals by the previous clown that I showed up on the screen, and a guy who shows charts and on message boards everywhere, because I said the Pac-12 was in deep trouble. And on May 8th, I did a live show. Go back to it. All my shows are up on there. May 8th, 2023, I said the Pac-12 got a shot in the solar plexus and they're hanging by a thread. On May 7th, the meeting happened. Colorado and the Big 12. I couldn't tell you about the meeting at that time. Not trying to burn my sources. I got to harvest the field over and over and over again. But I gave you... And I was considered as one of the leaders in this disinformation campaign. I wasn't giving you disinformation just because it was going against what other people thought. Same thing is happening here. I don't know who Regal Knoll is. He might have the greatest information in the world. But I can tell you what, this show is not about disinformation. And the information we got, definitely is not disinformation or misinformation or trying to, what purpose is that? What am I trying to do? Fool you? Am I trying to make it so Florida State doesn't get an invitation to the Big Ten? Is that my motivation? Why would I have that motivation? Just outright stupidity. I'm sorry, it is. It's just dumb. Regal Knoll, and I don't know who this person is. I don't know what he's even saying. I've been showing look, there are people who are sending me pics. I'm only looking I probably won't even look at any more of them anymore because there's Florida State fans who are saying this stuff is garbage, Greg. Please call it out. I've called it out. I don't know if Regal knows stuff is garbage. I've been showing a couple of pictures and I can't quite understand what he's saying, but I understand why he's doing it that way because I've had to do it that way when I do the Holy Smokes Theater. I get it. I understand it. I don't understand what he's saying, but I haven't been following him. I don't know who he is. I know who Genetics is, and he's an absolute clown. He's only got 8 years to prove it. It's unbelievable at this point in time. Well, he's got everything he's ever said deleted, but we've got all the receipts. National reporters laugh at him. He's a joke. He's an absolute joke. And if you want to just gobble up what he's saying because it makes you feel good, go for it. Go for it. And then he talks about disinformation, misinformation. This is what they've done before. They're doing it again. Just because somebody has different information. It's outrageous. And so I thank you, Tristan. But this is why I did this show yesterday. This is why I titled it the way I titled it. We're having a disinformation meeting. Everybody gets seated. Because I'm mocking this idea that this is disinformation. Everybody look out. If you're not saying that Florida State's going to jump into the SEC or the Big Ten real quick, you're spreading disinformation. It's BS. It is. It's absolutely is. And I don't know. I mean, now this is my second show talking about it. I guarantee you I'm not going to be talking about it this weekend. People have different information. That's okay. People believe this is going to happen, that's going to happen. That's okay. I have got information that says, slow down, you move too fast. And I know it ain't disinformation. It ain't. If you don't want to believe me, that's fine. But it ain't disinformation. And you want to talk about this? Florida State has had a spot in the Big Ten for more than a year now. That's not information, disinformation. That's being a clown. It's impossible. It's impossible to have your spot in a conference when legally you don't own your rights until 2036. The legal counsel, they haven't even spoken to Florida State in that manner. There's been different presidents. There's different presidents now than it was a year ago. So how could they... So, again, hate me now, respect me later. I'd rather have it go that way than just me pumping sunshine into a huge, unbelievable, impressive, valuable fan base. So, and I haven't taken a shot at Regal Knoll. I'm being accused of that. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he said. Except, if he did talk about this disinformation, wait, everybody, wait, it's coming. Who's doing the disinformation? It doesn't happen that way, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't happen that way. But anyways, there may be a settlement in the works. Maybe that's what Josh Pate is talking about. Maybe there is reporters that have the story in the oven. And if that is true, that's a huge story. And we're going to be covering that peek around the corner. And then those schools are going to be able to have first party talks. And it's going to be crazy. It's going to be nutty. And we're going to follow every step of the way. I don't have that information. The doors are locked on me. I don't have that information. That is embargoed. If you have that story, you're not going to go out with it until it happens. Else you're going to burn your source. And then you're going to be done. So it could happen. But nobody has a spot in the Big Ten right now except for the 18 schools. Florida State might be number 19. They might not be. We do know here at Peek Around the Corner, and you can disagree, but I got to tell you, Big Ten would rather just sit on the ball for a little bit. And then if the implosion happens before The Big Ten would like it to happen. Then they're going to evaluate every option. And then they're going to have long talks with Florida State and the other schools that become available. That's going to be the process. Not that a school had a spot over a year ago. Ridiculous. Not true, made up, absolutely fake. And I just told you the truth. Take it how you want it. We're going to open up the phone lines once again. 763 260 1333 763 260 1333. Give us a call. That's why the lawsuits are ongoing. Yeah. Exactly. The lawsuits are happening for a reason. Florida State and Clemson are trying to reach a settlement or win an outright victory.
Call from
CFB Plus.
This CFB Plus.
Yes.
Thanks for calling again, sir. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
So, thank you. I have a question for you. I think a huge piece of this whole realignment saga or whatever is how many teams do the Big Ten and the SEC expand to? Because I think there is a lot of value in the ACC, but I don't think there's that many spots in those conferences. And so what happens is the Big Ten decides to take Notre Dame and let's just say UVA, and they're done. And the SEC takes the North Carolina schools. And then then a lot of things get crazy real fast.
Yeah.
So just wondering what your thoughts are on the size.
So we talk about how many different variables there are in this, right? One of the variables, the biggest one is timing. We don't know, or maybe they found out in the last 24 hours that there's going to be a settlement, but for all this time, we don't know when Florida State, Clemson, North Carolina, and other ACC schools will have the opportunity to get their media rights back. We don't know the timing. Could it happen a day from now? Could it happen a month from now? Could it happen a year from now? Could it happen 2 years from now? So when you're a Big Ten commissioner, when you have your media partners, when you have presidents who are coming in and out the door constantly, you're not going to make any decisions until you need to, because we could have a big calamity. We could have a World War III. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what Notre Dame's going to do. We don't know. There's so many things we don't know. So therefore, you take the information in, you wait. You're going to have meetings when these teams are available, and then you start deciding. And then that's when these stories are going to leak. This is when the cloak and dagger stuff happens. Not now. Not with schools that do not have their legal rights to their media. They don't have their media rights, their ownership, until 2036. That might get cut down to 2027 here very shortly. And if it does, then there's going to be some serious talks going on. But it ain't happening now. No one can make a commitment until the first variable is the timing. And then there's other ones that you've alluded to. My goodness, we don't know. We don't know. And I'm not afraid to say it. We don't know. But go ahead, sir.
Oh, no, that's fine. And I respect the saying or the admittance that we don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Yep.
It's just I just think the size of the conferences is a huge variable, and it determines a lot. And
yeah.
I think it can determine whether you have a formal Power 2 or you have a Power 3.
Yeah.
Depending on
yeah.
how everything falls.
Yes.
So.
Yeah.
And then if the ACC, you go.
And speculate all you want. I mean, this is what this show's for. You think Florida State's going to end up in the Big Ten? You got a lot of great reasons that are in your backpack, baby. You can speculate all that. What I'm doing is I'm trying to make sure that everybody knows that when somebody says somebody already has a spot in the Big Ten and it's been done for over a year from now, I just want to let everybody know that's not true. But you can speculate all you want that Florida State's going to get to the Big Ten. There's a lot of good reasons for you to speculate on that. Speculate, and if you have some information, share it with me. But they make this grand announcement, and they gather thousands and thousands and thousands of Seminole fans, and they're waiting for your every word. I'm seeing these pictures. They're sending me these pics, these Florida State fans, and I'm about to yak. It is so embarrassing what this clown is doing to this fan base. It is. It's one of the worst things I've seen, and this guy has done a lot of bad things. There is no way that anybody is guaranteed jack right now as we sit here June 28th. Go ahead, caller.
Do you think that nothing is guaranteed? Well, I know that this is this is just the nature of things, but do you think that worries Florida State and Clemson at all? Where
no,
are they worried that there's a scenario they get left out? No,
they're not worried, and that's another part. Florida State has been telling the truth. Clemson's been telling the truth. They think what they actually believe when it comes to the media, ESPN media rights agreement, tying in with the Gore, and when Florida State and Clemson both come out and say things of this nature. You know, this is Clemson. The ACC has cast a harmful cloud of doubt on Clemson's ability to engage in meaningful discussions with other conferences and media providers regarding potential future collaborations or to negotiate alternative revenue sharing proposals. Clemson and Florida State know. They want to talk to the Big Ten. They want to talk to the SEC. They want to have meaningful conversations. They're worried about not knowing. They want certainty. That's why they're going to the courts. That's why they're battling this, guys. This is why they're putting the money in. Not because they have a deal all set up. They want to have a meaningful conversations. Florida State and Clemson are not lying in the courts. They're not lying, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, they're not lying. Go ahead, sir.
I think that's about it for me. I guess maybe I tend to believe that more happens with the third-party talks, and then I'm sure then actually goes on. But I just am of the belief that a lot of this is done third-party, and then they come to more second-party, and then more first-party. Obviously, they're not going to touch anything legally risky with a 10-foot pole right now.
They're not going to do that.
So
yeah.
So that's about it for me.
All right, buddy. I appreciate the call. Call again, sir.
All right. Bye.
Kerry Gold knows Mr. Seminoles. I mean, just look at this guy.
Call from
Steve-O.
Steve-O, can you hold on a moment, please?
Okay.
I do appreciate it. Kerry Gold knows. I mean, just look at this guy. They call Paul Finebaum. Does anyone really care what a pencil neat geek says? I give what he says. Zero cred. Thank you, Kerry, for the super chat. Thank you for your kindness once again, helping us keep the lights on, Kerry. Your generosity has been incredible over the weeks and months. I do appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Steve-O, you've got the floor, my friend. Go ahead, let it rip.
Hey, a couple quick things for the ESPN bashers. You're going to tell me Skip Bayless and Colin Cowherd are the source of information. Also, who's to say that Regal Knoll, and I don't know him, isn't giving disinformation? And, Greg, if Notre Dame says they'll come in and they'll go add one more, who do you think they would prefer?
Repeat that last. If Notre Dame came in,
Who do you think, if they're going to add one more, they're +1, who do you think it'd be?
so what you've just done, Steve-O, is basically you've taken a hand grenade into the studio, you've pulled the pin, you've laid it before my feet, and you've ran out the door and locked it, right? That's what you just done. Because
It was a stink bomb, Greg.
Huh?
It was a stink bomb.
Okay. Well, that's a huge variable in all this. Now it's not talked about, and reporters are not going to talk about it, but it's part of the chatter. And
Well, I'm sort of.
Go ahead.
I'll help you out a little here. I'm sort of along the line of CFP plus on Virginia. What do you think of that?
I'm not really there. I don't think so. Maybe.
You think they'd take one Southern school by themselves?
Maybe. I wouldn't rule it out. I really.
I mean, if we're going Notre Dame, saying Notre Dame's first choice, that everybody else is living like Florida State's, got first dibs. Notre Dame's got the first dibs.
Yeah. Oh boy, you really put me in a spot here.
I'll let you think on it for a couple of days.
Yeah, I know. It's not that I don't have some.
Well, you think it's not Stanford?
No, that's one of the possibilities. I really can't go down that road right now, sir. It's a great question. It's just part of.
Are you supposed to have tight lips on?
Yeah, I'm not. I just can't speculate on at this point.
That's fine.
Maybe further down the road.
I respect that.
Got it.
All right. Well, I think that's it for now. But if we're talking how many per conference, I think it's 2 and 2.
Got it.
And go from there.
Appreciate it.
Have a good one, Greg.
Thank you. Great call. Thank you.
Call from
Rock and Rant.
Rock and Rant. Can you hold on for a moment, please?
I sure can.
I do appreciate it. I thank you for the TCU has announced that they're going to be doing all of the $22 million for the student athletes in the athletic department. So I just want to put that out there. I keep forgetting to put it out there. Also, the ACC network, I'll put it up on the screen, to welcome California, SMU, and Stanford as ACC member institutions with special on-site programming throughout the summer. So that's being announced by the ACC network. I don't want to put that out there. Rock and Rant, thank you for your patience. I do appreciate it. The floor is yours, my friend.
Oh man, Greg, I just spit up in my mouth a little bit with the last thing you just threw up on the screen. But so we will push past my utter excitement about looking at the greatest games of Cal in 2020 on the ACC network, and go on to everything else that I was desperately trying to call in towards the end of your show yesterday, but fortunately you got me back into the wanting to go on to our rant in support of you right now. And I want to I have like a laundry list, and I'll try to be succinct so it doesn't take too long.
Yeah.
And the first caveat is, you know how you're doing something right in your job, Greg?
When I got everybody mad at me.
When you have everybody mad at you.
Yeah.
And real friends want to hear the truth from their friends, right?
Yeah.
And if you get mad about that, great. Like your job that you've taken on and developed over time to have everybody here paying attention to you, hating or loving whatever you're saying, is to tell people the truth. I come here in peace, though, because I believe the Florida State's going to be fine. So anything I say after this is about the fact that they're going to be fine, whether they're Big Ten fine or SEC fine, whether they're 2027 fine, 2026 fine, 2025 fine, that I don't know. But I'm as certain as possible that in this Russian roulette wheel of realignment, they're going to be fine. So, and you shouldn't be the victim of people getting mad for you for telling what you're saying. So just to start there. First, I wanted to say, because you're a way nicer person than I am, F genetics. He's a sugar pill for Florida State fans right now that will eventually become a poison pill. Been down the road with him myself, seen what happened to you, seen what happened to you. You know, he was all about Miami for a second until people like me asked him a question, actually questioning Miami. So, like, not even self-serving, and he didn't like that. So you can find me genetics. Anyone wants to tell him, I'm not hard to find. You can see me every once in a while at College Football Mafia. Happy to discuss it, not ready to hide. So anyway, enough with that clown.
Yeah.
Then a couple of things from yesterday. I'll believe that ESPN and Fox are in cahoots and putting all the dominoes together. An hour after we hear that ESPN and Fox have assigned their media rights deal to Venue as a separate third-party joint venture that they're in together, then they can start saying, I have these cookies and you have those candies. Let's combine them in the way we want. Anytime before that, they can't do it. It's not possible. And I say that as somebody who's probably one of the very few people who call into you who's actually dealt with the lawyers on both of those companies in professional roles in the past. It's just not how they're able to do it. Wow. In terms of disinformation, I don't know Regal Knoll at all, but I did get one thing sent to me as, you know, I get more and more into this world, that maybe he's got great information. Maybe he doesn't. And I've been on Kane's boards in the past when we were hoping a coach was going to get fired, and there was that quote-unquote insider who seemed pretty legitimate until they weren't. And I don't know where this person is. But let me just read this specific thing. And this is why it's good for FSU fans to, like, just question what you're being told about who's the disinformation and who knows what. If you say in a post to your on your board, FSU and others can speak up at any point they want, period. And then the next sentence says, but so far they haven't been able to talk openly. It makes absolutely no sense. So just be careful, you know, guys, and everything else the person has said, because I really don't know them. I just happen to get that. But that right there makes zero sense. And if you're going to talk about that ESPN and Fox are pulling all these things together, and governance rights and media rights and FSU's exit, if you're not talking about CBS and NBC, who are part of a Big Ten deal that is just about to start, but are not part of Venue as a joint venture, and how they're getting folded into that, I don't know how that would even be possible, even if you're just saying, well, ESPN's doing what they want because Florida State and Clemson were their properties. The deal, that's not how those deals work. It's not remotely how any of those things work. But let's take it to like a whole other conspiracy level. If a year ago, and I don't doubt there's like back channel conversations, because again, like, I think Florida State's going to be fine. I'm more certain about that than I'm about Miami. But if a year ago this was already a done deal because it's been worked on for 3 years, and even granting that AAU status doesn't matter, if they knew it was going to be said a year ago, the Big Ten presidents who are all in the secret cahoots about this deal being done, they could have all been a voting bloc that got Florida State into the AAU and taken that whole thing off the table a year ago, instead of having to make them wait for the next round where they probably will get in a world where AAU only did 6 schools for like 20 years and then did one block of 6. So if you're into the whole conspiracy theory, they should have just done that, because that's going to happen anyway, and it would have taken that whole thing off, setting everything for the future that was going to happen. So
that's
I
a
don't
great
know.
point.
That's just kind of my total rant. Finebaum as the newest clown entering the stage. I don't know if like that human tampon head is just regurgitating what everybody else is saying. It's also possible that he is hearing from SEC sources about Florida State to diminish their value in a world where like potentially Florida State has two bidders, right? So his information could be very well sourced. It doesn't mean that it's completely accurate. It could be the top third corner of a puzzle. And it could be somebody, and this probably happens to you too, where they have real information, but they're using you as a conduit to get a message out to try to like cloud things or to spin a specific hope that a party of 2 or 3 who's trying to get something accomplished wants to get done. You know, and ultimately, if it's going to go, all of this, when it's all said and done, if it's going to go through the courts, it's going to be this line. You keep wandering back and forth to get to the front of the ride. And you're going to keep seeing things back and forth in the queue unless something dramatic happens, like Florida State decides to do something that we're not sure why they would, but, you know, to look down whether that's the settlement and everything changes and now we got a fast pass to the end game here, or deciding to just say that they're leaving because there's some other 8D chess that they're doing. But that's the frustration, I think, for everyone, is that you want this to be over. You want that certainty. You keep coming back and forth past things. You're not sure if they're real or not. It's frustrating. Yeah. And therefore, you glom onto whatever piece of information you have. Yeah. But like, you don't need to take the heat. You're doing a great job. Yeah. I appreciate it, for sure.
Got it.
And I'll shut up now and listen to what you have to say.
Thank you, Rock and Rant. Beautiful call, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. I have, you know, whatever Regal Knoll is saying could be 100% correct. I'm not sure what he's saying, but if he could be 100% correct. I'm just telling you, on May 28th, when we 1 month ago today, when we said, there's no chalk, it's too many things unknown. The Big Ten wants to slow it down. That wasn't misinformation. That was not. So, I'm just telling you, it was not disinformation. It's so it just isn't. And you know, so because, and I didn't know Regal Knoll threw that out there. I don't know when he threw it out there. I don't follow him. But suddenly I was getting inundated by you're part of the disinformation, Greg, and I'm like, now what is going on? And then, you know, people started showing me pics of War Chant, and you know, and then I saw genetics, and then somebody sent me all the comments that genetics is. Then somebody sent me all the comments that genetics has said about me, and I don't know, like 1,000 and some posts. I mean, I know the guy's a stalker and everything, but I had no idea any of this was going on. None of it. No idea. And then I read some of the things that he said on this about it's a done deal, and then I had my show yesterday saying there's, you know, it's not a done deal, and I went through the reasons why and everything. And then I had people telling me, Greg, no one has said this. Well, then, and then I saw people send me pics on the People War Chant going, why is Greg saying that we think it's a done deal? None of us have said that. And then I got people, Florida State Seminole fans, sending me all the pics that they have said it's a done deal, including genetics. And I've showed you one tweet that he sent out in May. He said this has been done a year ago. He said there's... So I don't know. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole again. I've given you my best shot. I've given you a warning. And people are still going to eat that stuff up when it comes to genetics. When it comes to Regal, no, I don't know. I don't know anything about him. Good luck. And maybe he's right about everything. I don't know. I have no idea what he's even saying. This is not about Regal, no. And then somebody showed me a pic of somebody saying at War Chant, Greg's going after Regal, no. And I'm like, I think, some people are just making things up. And I guess that's what drives whatever they're trying to drive. Steve-O, can you stop Fox and ESPN from talking about the Big 12? Can you stop Fox and ESPN? I don't know what that means, Steve-O. I do apologize. Can you stop Fox and ESPN talking about the big? Now, they're both Big 12 partners, media partners. Are you talking about potential Big 12 expansion? Well, right now, Fox and ESPN would give their valuations to Brett Yormark. Brett Yormark said, what type of valuation at this time? What would you do with the UConn basketball program? What would you do with the UConn football program? What would you do with the Virginia Tech football program? And they would get valuations between the commissioner and the media partners. But Brett Yormark is not having first-party talks with Louisville. I've also seen that out there. That's not happening. It's impossible. Big 12's not going to do that. That's been out there forever, and I haven't taken any time. Does Louisville have a certain valuation? Yes. Would the Big 12 be interested? I think they would be. But Yormark hasn't sat down with Louisville. Yormark sat down with Colorado on May 7th in 2023 because his legal counsel gave Yormark the go-ahead.
Call from
JD.
JD, Mr. Seminole, the floor is yours.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Doing really good.
I wasn't going to call, but I wanted to make a brief call just to clarify a few things. I know genetics feels like he's like Moses descending off the mountaintop to deliver information to the needy souls, okay?
Yeah.
A majority of us don't view him that way, okay?
Yeah, and you know what? And I should do a better job of saying that because I've got more and more Florida State people coming at me and saying, Greg, we know this. So thank you, JD, for bringing that up.
Yeah, it's okay. Regal sometimes talks cryptically. Regal has friends high up at the network levels. And he sometimes, his language is rather dramatic sometimes because he's got his own little stealth campaign going on, and he's been communicating behind the scenes cryptically for years, giving people hints and things like that. I figured that's what was going on, and that's what was going on. But he was also giving us nuggets, and now he's able to talk a little more openly. If anybody wants to meet him and anyone's a Seminole fan, he has meet and greets in Daytona now. I mean, he's outed himself. He'll talk with you offline. Mm-hmm. He'll tell you things. I know he had some serious detractors, or naysayers over the last few years, and they went, met up, meet and greet, sat there, drank beers, had a good time, and they said, no, he's got the goods, and they just quit. So I don't know. I don't know personally. It's just he's had a lot of predictions over the years on things that had nothing to do with Florida State. just things throughout college football and things that would be known to industry insiders. I never heard it on the news ahead of time. I never heard about all these other things coming, and then boom, there they are in the news. And then he would repost a post from the year before where he said it almost verbatim what would happen. So he's gotten a lot of credibility because things have come true, or his predictions has come true. The only thing that I've seen that he's been off on, and he'll admit this, is sometimes in the timing, but he's not a decision maker, so
Yep.
he has no control over that.
Yep.
You follow me?
Yep, and I completely understand that, and I completely understand the cryptic talk, because we do the same thing here. So
Sure.
I got no gripe with him whatsoever. But go ahead.
Yeah, and whether it all happens, man, I don't know. I just know by track record. But he's not the only insider.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like there's a bunch of them, and they all have an inside ear in different places. So, but yeah, as far as genetics goes, yeah, I mean, I've not gotten along with him often, and he's latched himself on to some of Regal Knowles' predictions and almost tried to make it as though he's a part of it. And we'll see. We'll see if he's got real inside information.
He did that to me 8 years ago.
Yes, sir.
So that's how he starts.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Regal doesn't refer to him as necessarily an insider. He doesn't he may comment sometimes on the things that he says, but he doesn't acknowledge him one way or the other, because genetics is especially the last couple of weeks, has come out with some pretty bold claims and things like that, and Regal has not gone that far. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know. Maybe Regal's telling him some of this. I don't know. You know, I'm not pushing back on some of these predictions he's made in the last week or so, because I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
You know, track records are track. I mean, track record is there's a reason it's called a track record. Yep. You know, if you're gonna lay down the gauntlet, and you better be right, especially when you want to criticize everybody else. If you're a person that predicts something and it doesn't come true, but you're not a bomb thrower, well, people say, hey, you just got it wrong. But if you want to criticize everybody else and you want to act like you were the only insider, or you're one of the true insiders, and then you just fall flat on your face with your predictions, people have good memories. They really do. Yeah. Especially when you take the time to, and I'm talking about you, I'm talking about him, to bash everyone else. This is detractors. You know, it just but I just didn't want to leave that impression that he's the Pied Piper trying to lead us all off the cliff. You know?
And I that's my bad. I should have led with that. I mean, I did say that there's a bunch of Seminole fans coming to me and saying, please, you know, talk about this genetics guy, because obviously there's a long history there of him. I mean, you know, if there's anybody in WarChan who's listening to this, go to my Twitter page, my X page, and go to the pin tweet and read the Los Angeles Times report.
Oh, sure.
I mean, genetics was interviewed for that article. He got clowned by the Los Angeles Times. I mean, what else? What they did a deep investigation. What else do you need, Wart? I'm just, you know, I get it. You know, nobody really knew genetic. I mean, he's up here in the Midwest. He's been thrown out of his own Nebraska website. He's been thrown out of everywhere, because eventually he becomes too much. They throw him out. So I understand Florida State. You know, you got Tallahassee. You don't know about him. But there's been enough Florida State fans who've learned about him through this channel and other channels. Now they're saying, Greg, say something. So I said it yesterday, said it today. I'm not going to do this tomorrow, though. You know, I don't want any
Well,
more pictures. Just let it go. Let him do whatever he does, and we'll let the war chant people handle it. But
well, I don't know if he's taking little bits of information he's gotten in other places, and then hearing what he hears from all of us, and then draws his own conclusions, and recrafts a message of his own. Or let's throw out a possibility. He's convinced people he's an insider, and they've shared information with him. I can't say that hasn't happened. Okay, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I haven't examined it too much of what he said the last 2 days.
yeah.
I did show it to a person or two to say, this is some pretty bold stuff. I don't know, but if it's true, that's some pretty bold claims. Let's just, if all this is supposed to happen this summer, well, it's already almost July. So,
Well, but genetics has already said, he already claimed that this summer the SEC and the Big Ten were breaking away and having their own playoffs. He said that on a Mark Rogers show. He's already said, and that would have left Florida State behind. I mean, eventually, supposedly in his theory, Florida State would come on board. But he's already massacred another one of his, it's done, it's being done, it's already done, it's happening. So again, he's found another spot where he can play his games. And unfortunately, the Florida State, some of them are being the victims of it. A lot of them have figured that out.
Well, we have really good memories, and like I told you, I've had words from time to time. But when he found out I was one of the ones that call into your show, of course, he blocked me on Twitter and everything else preemptively. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that on some of this stuff, I'm not going to call him out as a liar and all the rest of that. And I'm just saying he made bold claims. So we're going to find out if his quote unquote claims come true.
Yeah.
And if they don't, people will remember.
Yeah, but he won't take the L. So just let you know.
Well, he'll disappear. But that's okay. That might be a good thing too.
Yeah.
It probably would be. I'm looking forward to that day. But but yes, sir. Now again, there are things discussed on there that would be. I don't think anybody would claim that you are, and I'm not going to go down the road with it yesterday. I'm just staying on the surface here. I don't think anybody would claim that you are in a intentional disinformation campaign. There's just people that would think that maybe others have put information out there. Again, I'm not even going down that road. You might end up being 100% accurate and 100% truthful. And what I'm saying is the information might be perfectly legit. Mm-hmm. I know you believe it because I believe you're only going to report what you believe to be true. So, and I'm perfectly fine being wrong if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
And again, I think I told you this 2 or 3 times. We're going to know in the next couple of months, one way or the other, if it's wrong or not, because we're going to know, hey, does FSU announce? And then if they do, okay, they must be really confident. And then what happens next?
Yeah, yeah.
If it's this long pause now, if there was some wink, nod deal, are they going to announce it a week after they announce? I mean, no. I think there's going to be a delay anyway. Mm-hmm. But people will start hearing things. Yeah. And, so I'm perfectly happy, just let's wait and see. Yeah. Let's wait and see. And I'm fine with that. But no, I respect the fact that you are standing by your convictions as far as what you believe to be true, and you are making it very clear where you stand. And when I was calling into you yesterday, it wasn't where I felt like you should back down. That's not it at all. Mm-hmm. I felt like some people felt you were just trying to argue with them. And nobody said that to me. I'm just noticing the way people were responding. It's just like, why are you trying to argue with me, man? Can't we just agree to disagree? And it felt like
I'm okay.
I felt like some people felt it was an argument, and it's just But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm great with. Look, this show is not a show without disagreement. I'm just. It's just. You see the same thing happening again and again and again, and you feel like you should speak up, and people want you to speak up. So I spoke up, but I'm not gonna keep hitting on this. So because this is a national college football show, we've got a lot to talk about. We've been talking about it. We've been talking football. We're gonna be talking SEC on Monday. But I also, I got a couple Seminole fans who, when they communicated with me, not JD, not the caller.
I already threw a couple disclaimers out the other day, and then today too, that I'm not the one that's ratting him out. But anyway,
I got it. I mean, they were pissed. I mean, they were like, because they've been curious about realignment in the past over the years. They've seen this guy, genetics. They've seen him do what he does. And they saw it happening on a site that they love to visit and read. And this guy was pissed. And finally I said, okay, I saw he sent me some stuff. It was ridiculous stuff on genetics, and I saw people were falling for it because they want to believe. And it's not, it's not like, I mean, it's stuff that's impossible. Look, guys, I'm not saying that Florida State's not going to the Big Ten. I'm not saying they're not going to the SEC. I'm not ripping Florida State at all. I'm just saying it's impossible that it deals, that it's all been decided. Big Ten presidents have decided, the commissioner, none of that has happened, man. None of it. We know this. And so I just wanted to put that out there to make sure that everybody knows that. Be hopeful, be strong, Seminole fans. But, there's going to be some work to do here. So that's all I'm saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know genetics is probably listening to this at some point. So I've left him alone. I'm letting him see if his predictions come true. And I'm not really an I told you so type person, but at the same time, it's there will be people that are I told you so's, and they're not fans of his. And like I said, he's going to have his opportunity. He's made some pretty bold stuff. So let's just see what happens, and then I'm sure they'll have something to say if it doesn't happen. But anyway, I just wanted to clarify that. And hey, you want to join War Chant? You'll have a blast. Matter of fact, why don't you come on there? It's not that much. Why don't you come on there and y'all can have your own thread and you can just go at each other? And that'd be fantastic. And then you could tell, and then he may not debate you, but hey, it's
all he has to do.
Day,
all he has to do is unblock me.
I get you.
He's not blocked. I don't have anybody blocked on X. I have about 6 people blocked in YouTube because I can't afford, some of these comments. You got to protect the channel, but I don't have anybody blocked on X. I don't have him blocked. I don't have it. All he has to do is unblock, and we'll have a conversation right out in the open. But he won't. He can't. He can't even have a conversation with the hundreds of Oregon Duck fans that he's blocked because he sold them a bill of goods. And he'll have a whole bunch of Seminole fans blocked after all this is done. So.
like I said, you're invited, and if you ever make it down to Daytona, I'm sure Regal Noah would be more than happy to sit down and have a drink with you and give you the whole story.
That'd be a very interesting talk.
Yes, sir. But all right, have a beautiful weekend, and
too.
I appreciate you, sir, and we'll talk to you next time.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
JD, Mr. Seminole, if you're new to the channel, if you haven't done so yet, please hit the subscribe button, smash the like button, and turn on your notifications, because we can come on live at any time. Tomorrow, we usually do a Saturday is all right for PATC. Sometimes a Saturday night is all right for PATC. I do have a certain event I got to go with, the little general going to a baby shower. So I don't know what my plans. We're going to try. There's more to talk about in college football. Today we talked about the Florida State having a very good day in Leon County. We talked about Memphis, the athletic director, and then we talked more about what Paul Finebaum said. But there is more to talk about, and we're going to be doing our SEC breakdown, our order to finish prediction on Monday. So I'm going to try to get a Saturday live show off the ground. So if you are interested, keep your head on a swivel and have those notifications turned on. Follow us at Flug Empire on X. We do give up a heads up on when we're going to come on live pretty much every time we come on live. So that can give you a little bit of a heads up as well. We do not schedule our program. Various reasons. One of the big reasons is we go where the story goes. And sometimes I'm working on a story. And there's lots of reasons why we don't schedule like everybody else does. It seems like everybody has a set schedule when it comes to college football YouTube channels. We don't do that. We fly by the seat of our pants. Oftentimes, there's just a lot of reasons. But anyway, so make sure you subscribe to our channel. Have those notifications turned on. We're going to close this up. We've been on the air for 2 hours. It's Friday evening. You all have things to do. You want to be with your family, your loved ones, your cat and your dog. You want to get into the chat room and talk about the Florida State and the message boards and the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Purdue Spoilermakers and the Buckeyes and the SMU getting ready to celebrate their entry into the ACC. SMU Ponies, buckle up, brace for impact. I want to thank you all for the donations, for the wonderful chats in the chat room, and for the incredible phone calls. Stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner as we cover everything in college football, because we love everything in college football. Until next time, from all of us at College Football's Peek Around the Corner, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.